Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I'm going to be bringing you two very short gameplays and then one full-length gameplay, all with the same weapon and class setup. What happened here is I got off to two very bad missteps this morning when I was getting my gameplay commentary. This first one, you're going to see me get disconnected from the Modern Warfare 3 server and booted from the game because for some reason my ISP just decided to upgrade their everything right in the middle of the day when everybody wants to use their internet. Middle of the day is my morning, by the way. I kind of run a vampire sleep schedule. And it was also very frustrating because this was the first game that I actually used this setup, and I was doing good, and it kind of gave me the misconception that, hey, maybe this is a good setup when, you know, about 8 games later I realized that's not the case. The next game you're going to see is the same map, the same setup, and about halfway in I'm going to fall into a rock. I'm just going to randomly fall into the ground and get stuck in the ground and be unable to move for about 5 minutes, and it's going to go super speed because I don't think you guys want to see me sitting in a rock. And then we're going to go to an actual full game where I managed to kick a good bit of ass with this setup right here, not being a camper or a kill whore or anything, actually playing the objective and helping my team win. That's all about the gameplay for now. I'll probably butt in about that. This commentary is all about the spice of life, which is variety. Variety is the spice of life. That was the title, and that statement is extremely true. It's a quote from William Cowper, who is a poet and wordsmith of sorts in the 1700s, and when I went to Google this, I thought that it was much older. Like, I thought it would be something like a Confucian saying, or maybe an old Arabic thing, or maybe even just like some random quote from the Bible, something like Proverbs or Psalms, something that David probably wrote. No, it actually came from the 1700s, from an English language speaking poet, which surprised me, but then when I stopped to think about it, not quite so much, because in our modern world, and the world was just really starting to industrialize about the time he was writing this, variety is a relatively new luxury. If you go back in time comparatively 100 to maybe even 150 years ago, you would not find the same variety in anything that you find today. Today, I'm going to use food as the example because food is one of my favorite examples. I'm kind of a glutton and I have a sweet tooth, so I think about food a lot. If you lived in a place, you could only get a couple of different kinds of food. For instance, if you lived in China, chances are good you're eating rice. If you lived in India, you're going to be eating brown rice. Depending on where you lived in Europe, you probably had a very localized kind of food. You know, you live in Russia, you're probably going to eat borscht. If you live in America, you're going to eat stuff, fish, corn, maize, deer. That's really about it. You didn't have a whole bunch of immigrants traveling all over the world, which travel was a big thing, sharing their food, sharing their culture, sharing their ideas. Same kind of thing with products. There was only maybe 1 or 2 brands out, if the brands even existed. The clothing was very generic. The media that you consumed was generic, to say the least. You had books. You had approved books. The rare books were literally that, rare books, like 100 print books. They were extremely difficult to find, extremely expensive. You didn't know what was in them. There was no Amazon for books, no Google for books, no Wikipedia, none of these sort of things. So your inputs were relatively rare, and it's just kind of cool that around the 1700s, when variety became possible, when you had international trade, when things started changing like crazy, we have a poet writing about variety being the spice of life, and that ties into this commentary, into this gameplay. That's why I'm using this setup. I'm using it because I got a little bit bored with Modern Warfare 3, especially coming back from Battlefield, which after the patch feels very novel and new to me. I had the same 6 or 7 classes that I always have set up. I have my ideal light machine gun class. I have the best sniper, the best assault rifle, the best shotgun, the best summit, you know, the best of all these classes, except I always have one class on that I just named Troll. It's the Troll class. Sometimes I have Troll 2, which if you don't know is one of the worst movies ever made. You should never watch Troll. I watched Troll 2 when it was brand new because I thought it was going to be good, but I was a stupid kid, and we're not going to do that. You're going to get to watch me dodge a whole lot of grenades and swap back and forth between the G36 and the Spaz here, which is also very neat because the G36 has the fastest swap time of any weapon in the game, but I thought I had Stalker, which gets me killed later because I can't sidestep fast enough. But now we're going back to variety being the spice of life, because it is. The human brain remembers things that are new. Our memory is defined by uniqueness, by individual events that stand out against the monotony of our daily lives. Because if you think about your daily life, what your life is probably like, what mine is like, is on a given day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do some kind of work, I'm going to do some kind of schoolwork, I might exercise a bit. I'm kind of lazy, so probably not so much on the exercise. I'm going to pet my dog. I'm not even going to remember petting the dog unless the dog does something that's worth remembering. If he does something extra cute or extra vile, like throwing up on my couch, And it's kind of the same thing with the food you eat. If you eat the same things all the time, you're not going to remember them because they're boring. But you do remember that one thing that was really, really tasty, or that one thing that tasted awful. Or if your day is really, really bad, you're going to remember it. If your day is really good, you're going to remember it, that sort of thing. And this is the spice of life. And when I say spice, I'm not necessarily talking about it's awesome, but tasty, but at least it'll have a kick to it. At least it'll make you believe that you've done something with your day. I'm going to use the restaurant example, which is food again, and you know that your life is getting boring when you go to the same restaurant every day and you order the same thing in the same restaurant every day. Me and my wife are, maybe getting a little bit boring. She only wants to go to the same couple of restaurants. There's a lot of ones on her blacklist that she just doesn't like, doesn't care to go to, doesn't want to try again. But when I take her to a restaurant somewhere new, she always orders something different off the menu. Every time I take her somewhere, she tries something new and different off the menu. I'm kind of in the opposite boat of that. When I go out, I'll go to any place in town, anything, even if I don't like it 2 or 3 times, I'll just go again and try something different. But the problem is, once I go somewhere and once I know what food I want, every time I go back to that restaurant, I order the same dish, which means I'm getting stuck in a rut. I'm doing the same things over and over again. So whenever I notice this happening, I always force myself to try something new. Try the peanut butter hamburger. Try the Hawaiian pineapple pizza. Just anything that's new. Oh, there's a new Spanish place in town. I don't speak any Spanish. Whatever. I'll just go and they'll put up with my white ass while I order some food. At least it's different. And even if it's bad, sometimes different is good. Because you can't have things that are good without having things that are bad, and if you don't try all of the things in existence, you might not know which is good and which is bad. This is not necessarily like food. This is with people, this is with party, this is with places, with things, with movies, with fabrics, with clothes, with cars, with any sort of sport or game. Some of the games that I ended up enjoying a lot were games that I didn't necessarily think were going to be very fun. As a matter of fact, Call of Duty is one of these games. I was pretty big into Halo 3. That was my #1 multiplayer game. When Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, COD 4 came out, everybody was all like, yeah, this is the best game ever, oh my god, that beta was so fun, I can't wait to get the full game. And my friends bought it, and I saw them all online playing. I was like, nah, I play Halo. Halo is fun, Halo is all I need, I always enjoy Halo. And the truth of the matter was, I wasn't enjoying Halo as much as I was secure in Halo. Halo was... It was what I needed. I didn't need anything else. I didn't need to try anything new. I didn't want to try Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I didn't want to try COD 4. I didn't like the other Call of Duties all that much. Please don't make me play them. And I went to a friend's house who'd actually bought the game. Which is kind of rare because this particular friend doesn't normally buy games that are new, because he doesn't just, he's kind of cheap. He just doesn't throw down money for all kind of random shit. Like, I know some of you people might have friends that buy like 8 games a month. This guy buys like 1 or 2 games every 6 months, but he always buys good games. So I walk in his house and I'm watching him play this game, and I do a double take on it, like, whoa, that game actually looks good. And I think back like, man, that Modern Warfare trailer was absolute shit, but this game looks fun. And I'm watching him play it, and I'm like, man, that game looks fun. Let me play it. And he kept this little shitty smile on his face, like, I told you so, I told you this is going to be a good game, I told you you should have got it. So I got down, I started playing it. I played the Gillies in the Mist mission. The very best mission in any Call of Duty game was the one that I played first, and I was hooked on that. I'm like, alright, well, let me try online. Online, even though I was terrible, even though I was getting my ass stomped, it was fun. And do you know why it was fun? When this game first came out, it was different, and I mean, it was radically different than anything, or not necessarily anything, but it was really, really different than other shooters out there, especially multiplayer-wise, and people really, really stuck to it. Now that we're getting some just, incremental improvements in this game, it's still very, very fun. It's still different than a lot of other shooters, but people are getting used to it. They're complaining more. It's getting more monotonous. It's not the big shock and awe that it used to be. And I'm not here to speculate on what the next Black Ops or the other Call of Duty games are going to be like, but hopefully it's something new, hopefully it's something really cool. Even if it's not the best of things, I hope it really turns the genre on its head. That's what I always liked about Treyarch. I like them better than Infinity Ward just because they're not afraid to try different things. Treyarch will experiment with a game, they'll be silly with a game, they'll do something ridiculous with it, and they don't give any fucks about it at all. If they didn't experiment, if they weren't afraid of losing and taking risks, there would be no zombies, there would be no Black Ops 2 in the future, there'd be none of this kind of cool stuff. That's why I like them better better. And I would say that on average, Infinity Ward probably makes a better game, but when it comes to who makes the best Call of Duties ever, probably Treyarch, because they take bigger risk, and when it works, they get bigger rewards. But anyway, I'm getting way off track. But back to what I was saying, even if you try something bad, at least then you know in your memory, you know, I don't like that. When somebody asks you, yeah, I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. When you try something bad and then you go back to the thing that you like, the thing that you like is even better. You can't have good without the bad, so you have to experience a little bit of bad every now and then. It was kind of like, for those of you that watch anime, if you remember the one Fully Coolly FLCL, the one that was a pun on breast grabbing, was the whole thing about the show, but it was actually a brilliant, brilliant anime that satirized coming to adulthood, a youth growing up, and also anime and Japanese culture in general. There's one in the 6th episode where I believe her name is Haruko, is sitting on her little yellow Vespa talking to Naotoa, and they've kind of run away from home, and she makes him eat the bad ramen, and he really wants her good ramen. They just swallow, like she steals his good ramen, and she tells him, you know, even eating the bad ramen can be fun sometimes. And it didn't really sink into him there, but it's supposed to sink into you that just sitting there, you know, they were kind of posing, kind of being cool, but even eating the bad ramen was a good idea, because when it would come back to later in his life, when he remembered the bad ramen, when he remembered something different, a unique event in his life, he would remember this. He would remember sitting out homeless out in the public, just sitting on a yellow Vespa with a girl twice his age, eating bad ramen, hanging out all day. Whereas if he'd sat there and ate the good ramen, she wouldn't remember anything. Or maybe it would have remembered the extreme event. But it really wouldn't have stuck out. It wouldn't have been as cool. And that's what I want to tell you guys, is you should never pass up the opportunity to try new things, especially because we can. It's so incredibly easy in our world and our society to try anything new, to go and try and meet a different group of people. Hell, we have like all sorts of weird clubs and personals now. I know you guys are starting to think weird, creepy, sexual things, but just like if you want to try parasailing, it's probably not hard to do. Even if you live in the desert, I bet there's some crazy bastard with a truck and a sail and he'll drive you around. If there's any different game that you want to try, why not try it? I'm not really a big advocate of piracy, but pirating something as a demo, or especially if you can't get a demo if it's region locked, is okay. But hell, Steam has thousands of free demos that you can try out. I know people that don't even pay for games and just play Steam demos all the time. Just try it. You never know, you might like it. There's no reason not to. The only thing that you're wasting is a little bit of your time, which I can guarantee you would be wasting doing something else that you've already done and you wouldn't even remember in the long run. So please, do try new things. That's one of the reasons that I'm kind of sticking my neck out here trying to build this quad rotor, is I do get tired of doing gameplay commentaries just over and over and over. That's why I decided to go live action with if it were more realistic. I never knew how to do that. Some of it was incredibly fun, doing blood and body makeup, and some days I'll never forget. There were some parts of it that were not quite as fun, like me cracking a rib when I get tackled to the ground. Not very fun at all, but still cool in a way, and totally acceptable, because that's how life is. I saw a comment in one of my last videos. It's like, Drifter, you shouldn't build this quad rotor. You shouldn't do that. You remember the last time you took a big risk and you totally failed? You know, you shouldn't do it for that reason. I was thinking, that is not a good enough reason not to try again. Failure is not a good enough reason for me to not want to try again, because in order to try anything, if you're going to play a game, if you're going to take a risk, there's always a possibility that you can lose, and you just have to deal with that and just roll your cards again. I actually slowed this down double. It was kind of a crazy last kill. Look how much the screen is kicking, and this shitty gun. I actually had to wait for it to slow down to put in the last shot or two. Thought it was a really good kill cam. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. We're going to go to the scores here in a second. Oh my god, 2x slow-mo is just a little bit too slow. Come on, there we go. 28 and 9 with 10 assists, a little bit better than 3-to-1 kill death ratio and plenty of assists. Not bad. Drifter out.